Hello again, everybody. I hope you feel warm and cozy after our coffee break. And right now we invite Victor Hochots, barrister and solicitor of Avista Professional Corporation, to tell us about Canadian business immigration programs overview. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I guess I asked specifically to have an opportunity to have a presentation after where everyone had coffee and you guys all wake up after listening about other alternative programs and all your attention is directed towards the Canadian immigration. So that was the trick. Now that I got your attention, I'd like to start the presentation. Thank you very much. All right. So basically, there have been some very in-depth coverage of immigration programs that Canada offers as of today. What Avista Professional Corporation concentrates on is investment-based and business immigration. We are coming mostly with new products that have been developed by Canadian government, and I will cover each of those products in a relatively, detailed manner, considering the time limitations that we have. Now, give me a sec. Technology works in here. Perfect. Thank you. Now, with respect to just to kind of following up on what's been mentioned by our Indian colleagues as to how to present and how the representation structure works with the clients that are interested in immigration. In Canada, again, it's licensed lawyers and licensed immigration consultants. We had some issues happening lately with people being represented by people who were not licensed, and that resulted in permanent residence status being revoked from some of the clients. We had a huge coverage in newspapers in Canada, so that's important. Now, as have been also mentioned today by some of the presenters on Canada, it's not about getting the clients, it's not about getting paid, it's about having a full picture on how you're going to take the client from point A to point, let's say, to the end point. That approach I call holistic approach, and that approach involves several very important, I would say, pivotal steps that must be taken. You need to understand the client, we need to understand where the client comes from, you need to understand the client whether he, while qualifying for the program, may have some practical difficulty actually going through it. And some of that information was already again covered, and I'm referring to the issue of money source requirement. Now, the client may qualify, the client may have the necessary education, the client may have the necessary experience, the client may have the necessary net worth, yet having a difficulty with proving the money. And that's Indian problem, that's to some extent Chinese problem, that's to some extent Russian problem. So these problems we have been dealing very, very attentively with while dealing with clientele that we're getting pretty much across the globe and from most of the countries such as India, Russia, China, and so on. Now, again, there's another issue and another part of planning is a tax planning. We need to understand what and how the client is able to bring the money in the new country where he's going to settle with his family, buy a house, buy a business maybe, get his kids to school and so on. So this is a very detailed thing. Because this has been covered lightly today, I'm not going to go into details, and of course, like you can't cover this, like in 25 minutes, because you need to sit down and in each specific case, look at the client's background and deal with those issues. Now, why Canada? That's my favorite question. I don't know, the Canada requires actually advertising. I like to call Canada North American Switzerland, okay? We have some things that differentiate us from the United States, and I find those things very appealing to some people. Some people prefer United States, some people prefer specifically Canada. again, it's a country with a developed economy, financial stability. What's one of the most important things that I find that is a selling point about Canada, it's a safe country, it's a country to where one may want to bring the family, may want to bring the kids with the safe schools, with, people, not having guns on them and stuff like that. That's very important. In today's world, I think you look at those things and you understand that importance, big time. Again, just more advertisement. That's the last one about Canada. It's the first country in the G20 to start the business, according to the World Bank Group, and the first country in the G7 for economic growth over the 2007-2016. It's the first country in the G7 for quality of life, with 3 out of 5 most livable cities in the world located in Canada. We have Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto. They have been in the top for the last so many years, and those are the places where people want to live today. Now, it's the second country in the G20 for protecting minority investors. For some people, maybe it could be important. And it's the second country in the world to headquarter a corporation. So Canada welcomes business. Canada supports business. Canada protects minority shareholders and provides the place for business to thrive. And that leads us to another part of this presentation is the International Mobility Immigration Program. Now, International Mobility Immigration Program is a very new program, a very new product that has been devised by the new Liberal government in Canada, basically allowing someone to be able to come to Canada by purchasing a business in Canada and hiring himself through that same business which he owns. He can own it fully or you can own it partially, again. It also allows someone to set up a business and through that business hire himself on a work permit. Now, this program does not provide you with an opportunity to have a permanent residence status right away, but it allows you to acquire work permit first, and then having, improved your English, having received some work experience in the country, get additional points on the express entry system and being able to apply and become permanent resident. Now, that's a very appealing program as of today, and we get at our company quite a bit of interest from across the globe, from people who have their own businesses back in their home countries, and we help them find matching businesses in Canada where they could bring the skills and experience by purchasing a business in Canada and develop the Canadian business in Canada by hiring himself. Of course, when you come to the country, if you purchase the business, such as applicant who purchased the business, you can also bring your family. You bring your wife. Your wife acquires an open work permit, so she can work anywhere she wants. The kids go to school. Education is free, apart from the free healthcare and all the other free wonderful things in the socialist country of Canada. So that's another program. That's one of the programs to consider, and it is quite appealing and good way to get started in Canada, get to understand the country, get to understand the business environment, develop that business, and then acquire PR and flourish in a new place. Another program that I would like to also make an emphasis on is the Startup Visa Program. The Startup Visa Program is a new program, relatively new already, as everything else, time flies. But it was developed while the government kind of realized that, like, listen, we had people coming to Canada and buying coffee shops, and then we had the old program called Business Entrepreneur Program, where people were coming, buying a coffee shop, buying a auto shop, keeping it, doing business for 2 years, hiring one person, showing that you've been creating a job for someone else locally, and qualifying for the PR. This program was terminated, and a new program was launched, Startup Visa Program. the government basically said this, okay? We don't want people anymore who come and buy coffee shops. We have enough people in Canada who would want to buy coffee shops, and it does not benefit economy to the extent, and it doesn't push us economy in a direction that we would like it to be pushed. We want people to come to the country who bring new innovative ideas, ideas that are going to become, let's say, next Oracles, next Microsofts, next somewhat like, like blockchain companies, new technologies, new ideas. And the government also mentioned for this specific program, they said, listen, there's no requirement for someone who has been able to obtain a permanent residence in a country, having gone through this program, if that idea or that company did not work, or it didn't work out for the business to, like become successful or become, next Oracle. Why? Because 1 out of 50 or 100 startup ideas actually at the end of the day flourish into big companies. Lots of startup ideas, lots of ideas. Some of them don't materialize, but the whole investment was made into people who have ideas. You have one idea today, tomorrow you'll have another one, and in 3 days you may have another one, because someone who comes up with ideas will always have them. That's my belief anyway. So it was mentioned that now we have these people, but who is gonna make a decision and determine whether the idea is innovative or not? Definitely not the immigration officer sitting in the embassy and pushing papers right and left. They are not equipped to be able to determine whether any business idea is a good or innovative, or it may only sound innovative, but it would never be implemented. So what the government did is they said, listen, we're gonna have organizations set up who are equipped and who consist of key people, professionals in the areas of investment, in the areas of business, in the areas of law, in other areas, who are actually equipped to be able to assess any innovative idea. So as such, there were 3 groups of designated organizations created. The first group is the venture capital funds. The second group is angel investor group. And the third one is an incubators, so-called incubators. Now, the venture capital funds would require you to provide an investment of $200,000, just very shortly. The angel investor group may require an investment of $75,000. Now, the incubators don't require you to provide any investments, but you have to prove, again, that that innovative idea is gonna flourish and is gonna be promising to actually get realized in the future. Now,